Welcome to another Apollo Papyrus podcast episode. I am Aaron Apollo Camp. For this episode, my interview guest is a book marketing expert and author. As an author, he has written the nonfiction books Fully Booked and The Book That Gets Clients. His name is Zack Zeller, and my interview with Zack, which is primarily about Fully Booked and topics related to that book, will follow the note-taking sounds. Zack Zeller, welcome to the Apollo Papyrus podcast.
Awesome. Super glad to be here, Aaron.
Feel free to introduce yourself to our listeners.
Yeah, so I'm Zack Zeller from Fully Booked, and I work with a lot of businesses to take their book and turn it into a client acquisition system by getting the right book in the right hands so that they don't have to live on social media, essentially.
You've helped consultants, business coaches and marketing coaches, and some of these names include Jay Shetty, Les Brown, and Jordan Belfort, among others. What was it like to help them?
Yeah, so it was very intense with the work that we did for them. And I can mention I worked with them. We do have NDAs about the specific systems and all of that. But the idea is we were monetizing their audiences through social media. So at that level, there was a lot of moving parts that we needed a big flow of content on Instagram, TikTok, throughout social media to get enough reach to continue feeding the funnels and the marketing assets that we built for them to sell their courses. But it was awesome. I mean, I grew up really looking up to these people and learning a lot from them. So it was really cool to work with them in that sense.
Okay. Now, you're the author of a nonfiction book that is titled Fully Booked. Without spoiling too much about Fully Booked, what is the book about?
Yes. So I wrote that, published it in 2021, so a few years ago. The whole idea is how, as an expert, as someone who owns a problem in the marketplace, it's not necessary to go out into the social media circus to post content, shake hands, kiss babies, that kind of thing. You can have a really successful, thriving business with a much quieter approach. And that approach through Fully Booked is writing your own nonfiction book to attract people to you, show them what you do, and build the demand for you and your business through that.
For the next several questions, I'm going to pivot about questions that might be at least tangentially related to topics that you discuss in Fully Booked, or are about book marketing in some form or fashion. And I'll start with this question that I think some of our listeners might regard as a stupid question. But why are an author's books and his or her work as an author a business?
Yeah, that is not a stupid question at all. The whole job of an author, especially in nonfiction, but in fiction too, is to clarify ideas and work through them. So even us on a podcast, I can speak a pretty good answer, but if I were to put that on paper, it might be a little disorganized and need some editing, need some refining. But as an author, you're really thinking through ideas so that others can better understand them and have a better head start compared to where they were before, or where even a whole generation or wider view of people were before. So if you're looking at that as, in a business sense, your intellectual property and a service or value you're providing to people by giving them confidence, giving them simplicity, and even giving them guidance, especially today more than ever, where with AI, with everyone posting online, there's a lot of information, but not a strong filter on how to prioritize it, contextualize it, and apply it for your specific situation. You can bring people a lot of value and use that and monetize that as a business.
Why do most authors fail or otherwise struggle to make money from sales of their books?
So the biggest reason for that is because marketing is a four-letter word to most creative people. And the truth is that even if you produce great work, which is essential for being successful, if no one knows about it and you're not marketing it, it's not going to get into enough people's hands to trickle down into the right people's hands. So it's understanding that marketing and sales isn't about taking and copying a lot of the more visible people in the marketplace that sell and do things in ways that don't come naturally to you or that feel sleazy or unethical or frankly uncomfortable to you. It's understanding that all you're doing with marketing is letting people know that you've created something and inviting them to try it. And so if you do it in that way, I've found, especially with a lot of fiction authors, especially with a lot of smaller businesses that are really passionate about their craft and about quality, and they aren't looking to necessarily go into that bro marketing or grow and scale at all costs kind of mindset, focusing on really helping people and bringing joy to people allows them to achieve the same goals of marketing without feeling gross about it.
My next question is similar to the previous one, but this question will apply more to personal development or self-help book authors. I prefer the former term than the latter. But that's beside the point in this question. What are some of the biggest mistakes that life coaches, professional coaches, and consultants make when writing and launching their books?
Yeah, I love that. The self-help space is great because a lot of people buy and see value in that. That's also the worst thing about it because it's so many book titles, so competitive. And the biggest problem I see, which puts your book into the internet graveyard or the bookshelf graveyard, is most authors are selling the, they're giving people medicine instead of giving them the cure. And I got that from my friend John Meese, who's also a great marketer. But the idea is, especially if you're a great coach or consultant and you've helped a lot of people and you're creating a self-help book, you know what people need. The problem is that doesn't often line up with what people want. And so people can read your book cover and it doesn't sound new, it doesn't sound exciting, so they skip past it, even if what's between those covers can dramatically transform their life overnight.
A concept of yours that you like to talk about is the author sales funnel. What is the author sales funnel and how does it work?
Yeah, so writing a book is really creating a product. You have your insights, your experience, everything packaged into a book. And because you have this product, you're able to have anyone who reads it be a customer. So the significance of that is in business, people who give you money are a world apart from people who just get your information or experience what you do for free, even if it's paying $1. And so authors have this great advantage compared to most businesses because people intrinsically value books. They like them, they'll read them, they'll buy them. The problem is most times people buy your book, you don't know who they are. So if people buy it on Amazon, you don't have that customer information. People buy it in bookstores, you don't have that information either. And so you're hoping that people see your book and then maybe buy the next book or buy courses or speaking or anything else from you. What I like to do to create the author funnel is take every reader on a possible journey with regards to how they can work with you. So, really tactically, I like to include in the first 10% of the book and at the end of the book, a really simple call to action or a call to adventure for them to, for not, for fiction people, check out the rest of your series. For nonfiction people, it could be as simple as inviting them to hop on a call or getting a free bonus with the book or signing up for another course that you offer. Really focusing on if someone gets your book, you're starting a conversation with them and thinking, how can you continue that conversation over time?
Is having a social media presence absolutely necessary for an author to be successful with book sales, and why or why not?
Yeah, the interesting thing about social media is it's a tool, and tools are neither sufficient or necessary to making you a really big author. So, what I mean by that is a lot of people spend a ton of time creating, editing, reviewing, engaging on social media to build an audience to get more people to buy their books based off the strength of their personality or their intellectual property. That can be a successful route, but that's not the only route. And the thing is, when you're looking at social media, there's a lot of skills that go into that, which means a lot more time and attention and diligence needs to go in so that you become good on camera. You become good with writing specifically for social media videos or writing posts and engaging with the right people to distribute your content. So if you're focused on being the best writer you can be, and you don't want to spend a lot of time on social media, and you don't want to spend a year or two figuring out those skills and building that audience and doing everything from the ground up as well, what you can do, and what I recommend, is using a marketplace like Amazon, where you can easily put your book in front of the right peoples. The idea there being that Amazon is a search engine where people are putting in terms of what they want to buy. Amazon is heavily incentivized to give, not only to sell more products, but also to give people the most relevant thing that they're searching for. So if you have a good book and you're really working on getting good information or great stories out there, and you let Amazon know this is what I'm writing, this is who it's for, with the metadata and your reviews and so on, then Amazon will do a lot of that heavy lifting for you. And you don't need to go out on your own independently to social media platforms competing against the rest of the world for everyone's attention.
Why can a book be more powerful than social media or paid advertising when it comes to lead generation?
Yeah, so that's a really good question because there's the short answer is that there is so much competition. So a lot of people are reporting that across all platforms, their reach of their posts are falling maybe 10%, even if they're posting every single day. It's a similar story with advertising. So average costs to reach a million, yeah, 1,000 people on social media have jumped maybe 30 to 40% year over year, making it really tough to test and put stuff online because you're going to be going out of pocket and spending more than you would have a few years ago. The other problem is on the consumer side, the content has become very templated with people modeling the same hooks and copying each other. So in the B2B space, especially, about 60 to 70% of buyers report that they just ignore a lot of social media posts. And instead, they're searching more for credibility, positioning, expertise. And so the book changes that because instead of all of these posts that you're putting out every day and multiple times a week, you can really work and focus on one book and then push all of your marketing effort and focus to that. And people who see a book attach it to credibility, authority, and especially once they read it and assuming that it's good, that's going to put you in a whole different echelon compared to everyone else that's just playing this social media content rat race.
If an author wants to relaunch his or her book for more sales and impact, where should he or she start?
Yeah, so there's three big things we do on Amazon, especially. So the first is getting more reviews is really helpful for relaunching your book. Depending on the niche, we usually see 5 to 10 5-star reviews help a lot to get you more traffic. So the quick way of doing that is going to your past clients, friends, family, even just to get you those reviews. The second thing is making sure that your Amazon categories and keyword, all the metadata makes sense. Because sometimes people will put a book up, and for me, I actually just changed the metadata on my book after reviewing this because I had it in general, the business and money for marketing, and it wasn't very niche down, and it was in a very competitive space. And so if you can make that metadata more specific, there's less competition and higher relevance. So your book has the best chance of breaking definitely the top 100,000 books on Amazon Kindle out there, which again helps you a lot because the more it's this victorious flywheel that the more reviews and the higher positioning your book gets, Amazon continues to give it more exposure. And then the third thing is usually the hardest thing to change, but simplifying your cover and title so that when people are searching, they instantly understand and can picture and have enough curiosity to click onto your page to see what your book is from the search results.
I have a couple of questions about your book, Fully Booked, before I end this interview. And the first of these is, what was it like to write and publish Fully Booked?
Yeah, so my my book writing process is pretty straightforward. I've worked with a bunch of people on ghostwriting their books too. Most notably is Richard Vanderbloom, who's a big B2B LinkedIn guy on a LinkedIn sales guy on social media. And with the book, the biggest thing I focus on is writing it almost like a sales letter. So out of 3 steps, the first is understanding who the book is for and teeing everything up after that. Once we know who it's for, the outline does 70% of the writing for us. So we really go in and understand based on who this person is, the problems that they have, how can we meet them where they're at with our expertise and organize this into not just a book, but a flow that makes sense. And once we have that, really it's just a matter, and the way that I do this is I have an interview process that takes out a transcript of me walking through this whole process and I edit it from there. And that's step 3, really just to make sure it flows, make sure everything makes sense, that there's nothing confusing, boring, or unbelievable throughout the book. And then it's done.
One final question. Do you plan on or are you considering writing more books? And if so, what are some ideas you have for books that you will or may write in the future?
Yes. So I have My first book was The Breakneck Headline Formula, which was all about copywriting essentially. The second book I have up is fully booked. I have another book, I haven't published it yet, for email cash flow, which is all about how I send 3 emails a week. That's only available for a free download on fixyourlist.com. And the book I'm working on right now is adding the rest of this Amazon process to get your book into the right people's hands with a budget of $10 a day. So that's what I've been working on now with clients, where it's okay, we have the book. The next question is, how does having a book for a business turn into 3 to 5 qualified calls per month? And that whole idea is really about, we run very targeted Amazon ads, we add a call to action into the book, and then we create an application from that call to action so that you can have your book bringing in qualified leads every single week for you.
Zack, thank you for appearing on the Apollo Papyrus podcast. You were an amazing guest.
Yeah, thank you so much. This is so much fun.
Before I sign off, I'll provide yet another update regarding my health. As you may know, I have been slower than usual to upload episodes for some time, and I now have an explanation as to why. For the past several months, I have struggled with what has now been diagnosed as allergies to pollen and other allergy-causing airborne particles. I am finally feeling better, and I am taking prescribed medication to control my allergies. Going forward, I should be well enough to upload podcast episodes at a much more regular and frequent pace. With that said, this is Aaron Apollo Camp reminding y'all to find your writing and reading purpose. Bye for now. Copyright 2025, Aaron Apollo Camp, all rights reserved. This podcast episode is intended for the private listening of our audience. Any reuse or retransmission of this podcast episode without the express written consent of the podcast host is prohibited except under fair use guidelines. Royalty-free music and sound effects obtained from https://www.zapsplat.com.